Sports Team presents your Southern Tier Kickoff.
What's up? What's going on? Welcome in and good morning once again, and thank you for starting your Saturday off with us here at the Southern Tier Kickoff desk. As always, I am Zach Grady. Joining me, Michael Villegas and Kyle Spisak. We got too many K's at this desk between Keith out in the field.
Up.
I do. And we're going to get Keith in a little bit. Keith Savage is going to be joining us at live from Cornell, the 130th Trustees Cup going on. But, gentlemen, we got to start with the big boys. We got to start with Syracuse. We got to start with Penn State. And we got to start with Penn State as they are looking to bounce back. They lost their first game of the season last week against Ohio State, a 20-13 L in Happy Valley. And one that people say maybe if the whiteout game being hosted this week against Washington would have been last week, it could have made a difference. So, Kyle, is that the case? Could they have made a difference last week?
I mean, yeah, Penn State's looking to bounce back this week after a crushing loss to Ohio State for the 8th year in a row last week. Was that a big noon game? Yes. Should it have been? Probably not. But that loss put Penn State at 1-22 against top 5 teams since the year 2000. Yikes. Last week saw Penn State defense that severely underperformed, apart from Zion Tracy pick 6 and a pair of sacks from Abdul Carter. Apart from that, the defense was getting torn apart, but the offense wasn't much better, not being able to get anything going, only putting up 2 field goals in the entire game. Ohio State shut down the run and pass game for the Nittany Lions, only putting up 150 yards through the air and 120 on the ground. This week, Drew Aller should be healthier than he was last week, which is a good sign for Penn State. But now they find themselves in a situation where if you drop a game the rest of the season, there's a good chance that your CFP hopes and dreams will disappear. Penn State head coach James Franklin said earlier this week that the team needs to focus on getting ready for Washington this week instead of looking ahead to the rest of the season.
I think the most important thing for us is how do we practice on Tuesday and how do we practice on Wednesday, and I thought those practices were good. I think the coaches have been good. Most importantly, we got to get better this week and find a way to beat Washington. We do those things over the next couple weeks, then all the things that we want to do are still in front of us.
And the keys to the game for Penn State this week will be, first of all, actually put up some points on offense. You're never going to win only scoring 3 field goals offensively. Second, last week, Ohio State had far too many explosive 20-plus yard plays. You can't let that happen again this week. You need to tighten up the defense. Lastly, the receiving core has to create separation between them and defensive backs. Aller had to run on a bum knee far too much against Ohio State, and there was little explosive plays for Penn State.
This is something, Kyle, that we've been talking about all season, keeping that offense going. It's been hot and cold. It's like a Katy Perry song, hit or miss. You know, one week they're scoring a ton of points. The next week they're beating Ohio by, I think, 2 points, 3 points. You know, they've had some trouble with MAC teams. That inconsistency, you mentioned the college football playoffs, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit as well as we break down the bracket. That inconsistency, is that going to be an issue as they get into these last couple of weeks? And I don't know, maybe have a shot at Illinois or at the Indiana championship game?
I mean, yeah, the inconsistency is going to be something you really have to watch out for if you're Penn State. I mean, just bad play calling, honestly, last week from Franklin. I mentioned last week they had to use Bo Prabula in that game, and I think he touched the ball twice the entire game. That's not what you have to do, especially when Aller's on a bum knee. You can't do that. And like you mentioned, the inconsistency. 1 week, running backs do fantastic. Next week, you see Kaytron Allen get a total of 30 yards. That's not sustainable. The wide receivers, there hasn't been a standout receiver for Penn State all year. It's one game somebody plays good, and then the next week nobody plays good. So you have to figure out something consistent.
Mike, can James Franklin do it? This has been his knock. I mean, again, he got a chance to make the CFP this year, but it won't be with the big win. Can they do it?
I've always liked James Franklin. I always thought that he was a good coach, but it's just the inconsistency for me, especially against big-time programs. When it's your time to shine against an Ohio State and really put your team on the map, I think he kind of crumbles in those moments, which is a bummer.
Not kind of. I think we lead 1-10 or 1-11 at this point in time in top 10 college football games. So we still have a pick to make, though, in this game. We got Washington versus Penn State. Washington, a 13-point dog on the road in Happy Valley for the whiteout game. I'm going to go ahead and take the points. like I said, inconsistency. We've been talking about it for a while now here at the top of the show. They're not going to score enough points. I think it'll be close. They'll win, but I think it'll be close.
I mean, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are going to bounce back from a week like last week. They have to. They have no choice. If they want that college football playoff position, they have to perform extremely well the rest of the year. It is going to be a whiteout crowd. That will give them a little bit of a boost. Not much. I mean, last week should have been the whiteout game, so the crowd's not going to be as into it as they were last week, and when you saw how that turned out for the offense. But I think that you have guys like Aller that understand this is do or die now, and they have to make that step up. I think they'll cover the spread here.
Michael, what do you think?
I'm taking Penn State. It's minus 13. I agree that it'll be a little bit of a bounce-back game. I always think that, and it always comes back to haunt me. But I think against a Washington team, I think James Franklin gets them in order. It's still the number 6 team in the country, so I'm taking Penn State.
All right, and like I said, we are going to talk a little bit more about Penn State's chances in the college football playoffs when we break those down at the end of the show. But breaking down the defense last week for Virginia Tech was the Syracuse offense as they stormed back to get a big win and cement maybe the start of the Fran Brown era for real in the 305s down in Miami, where the Binghamton Bearcats are. So make sure you tune in at 10 and 11 because we'll have highlights of Binghamton basketball as well. But Michael, what's Syracuse got on the tap today?
Yeah, the Syracuse Orange are shipping off to Boston to face the Eagles for their 4th straight ACC matchup. The Orange is coming off a huge 38-31 overtime win over Virginia Tech last week. Syracuse scored 21 straight points in the 3rd quarter to overcome an 18-point deficit to force an overtime where a 9-yard rushing touchdown by LaQuint Allen sealed the win for the Orange. Allen ended the day with 21 rushing attempts for 121 yards, along with 5 catches for 37 yards for 158 all-purpose yards. Kyle McCord went 24 for 35 for 280 and 2 touchdowns with 1 interception. Fadil Diggs and Marlon Wax together had 2 sacks and 16 total tackles. Here's Coach Fran Brown ahead of their game with Boston College Eagles.
They got a real good football coach, Bill O'Brien, one of the better coaches in the country. He's coached at every level. He's done a good job, Super Bowls. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. I think his staff, Coach Will Lawings, who he has as the offensive coordinator, Tim Lewis, and then Matt Thurin. They got real good. This offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams. When we look at Thomas, I think their quarterback is extremely dynamic. So we have our hands full getting to go against a guy like him. He's like a little human joystick. You know, his kid can really play football.
And that brings us to our keys of the game for the Syracuse as they head to Boston College. First one, don't get out-coached by Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien has elevated that Boston College program and has more experience than rookie head coach Fran Brown. Syracuse wants to win. Fran Brown can't get out-coached. What does that mean? Managing the clock well, playing situational football, capitalizing on mistakes, whether that's penalties or turnovers. The second key, feed LaQuint Allen. Syracuse came back to beat Virginia Tech in overtime, feeding Allen. Coach Fran Brown said after the overtime win, it's LaQuint Allen time. He went 60 minutes, and they need 60 minutes from him this game. Getting LaQuint Allen involved in the run game as well as the pass game benefits this offense, opens things up for Kyle McCord. Get the ball into your best players' hands. Third key, get Fadil Diggs going early. It's hard to get that done on the defensive side of the ball. I know that, but with linebacker Marlon Wax getting healthier and stronger each week opens things up for Diggs. Move him around, get him coming off the edge, have him move back to the second level, have him spy the quarterback. Find whatever works to get Diggs going. Whenever he's hot, this defense flows and follows his lead. Lastly, try to slow down Thomas Castellanos. Coach Fran Brown said it. He's a human joystick. He reminds a little bit of Kyler Murray. He's small, listed at 5'9", but he makes good decisions. Has 17 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This season, he's rushed 101 yards in the last 2 games. Syracuse needs to keep him in the pocket and try to contain him.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot for them to be able to do.
That's asking a lot.
Yeah, that's asking a lot. So, listen, Syracuse, we talked about it last week. This has to be a statement game, a defining game for the Fran Brown era. There was a lot of talk on this desk about how it's the same old Syracuse. And if we look at the picks, I'm not sure how many of us got a W last week. That being said, Fran Brown made a statement. Fran Brown made a statement, that team made a statement. And what amazes me most about this is that I went to this game last year between Boston College and Syracuse, and it had to be one of the most boring college football games in the history of college football. It's a bad game. There wasn't a lot of offense, and neither of the philosophies were very offensively minded. To see where these two teams have come just a year later is miraculous. So let's get right into the picks with this one. I am going to take Cuse. This is just a 1-point game, so it's basically a pick 'em. I'll take Cuse. I'll take the points. Go Orange.
And bouncing off what you said, last year, one of the most boring games. To be fair, Dane Villari was quarterback for Syracuse at that point in time. But, I mean, McCord, a lot better of an offensive quarterback than, well, anyone Syracuse has had since Eric Dungy in 2017. Boston College, they had that hype in the beginning of the year because they beat Florida State. That turned out to just be Florida State's a horrible football team. There was really nothing around that one. So I'm going to take Syracuse in this one. I don't think they'll absolutely blow the doors off of them, but I think that they will cover the spread.
I agree. I'm taking Syracuse. It's, like you said, a -1 game, so it's really a pick 'em. But I think Syracuse, we say it every week, like you mentioned, that it's a Fran Brown prove it game, prove it game, prove it game. And I mean, that's the way it's going to be your rookie year. I think against Bill O'Brien, he's going to have to show, he can't show any of his rookie mistakes against an experienced veteran head coach in Bill O'Brien, who has a good Boston College team. So I'm excited to see.
I really don't know how much more Fran Brown has to prove. I mean, since getting Kyle McCord in the door and this whole season, he's answered most of the questions. And again, minus a last-second Stanford field goal, they're right in it and maybe in a chance at, the college football playoff, which we're going to talk about as we get into the rest of the day. But real quick, we're going to go around the southern tier before we get out of here. Cortland Red Dragons are taking on Brockport. That game at 1 p.m. The last game before next week, and the Cortica Cup. A couple hours south, Eastwick hosting Alfred Saxton, 1 p.m. in Wright Stadium. Ithaca taking on St. Lawrence, 1 p.m. at Butterfield Stadium. And the Colgate Raiders will host Lafayette, 1 p.m. at Andy Kerr Stadium. That in Hamilton. A lot of action taking on place across New York.
Have you ever considered getting a walk-in tub? Well, look no further. Safe Step's best offer just got better. Now, when you purchase your brand new Safe Step walk-in tub, you'll receive a free shower package. Yes, a free shower package. And if you call today, you'll also receive 15% off your entire order. Now you can enjoy the best of both worlds. The therapeutic benefits of a warm, soothing bath that can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and even improve sleep. Or, if you prefer, you can take a refreshing shower, all in one product. Call now to receive a free shower package plus 15% off your brand new Safe Step walk-in tub.
Call now, 1-800-443-7474. There's never been a better time. That's 1-800-443-7474.
ADHD diagnoses in the United States for school kids has increased by 43% in less than 10 years.
This is the first time a teacher ever mentioned ADHD. I was super offended.
A big part of me thought it was a bogus diagnosis.
The flip side of distractibility is curiosity. What's that? What's that? What's that? If you didn't care, you wouldn't get distracted.
I'm a risk taker. I'm creative.
Zara's a brilliant writer.
He has a lot of skills, like to ask questions, to be argumentative, to push boundaries.
Around ADHD, there's tremendous ignorance. Most people are not aware of the positives that go with it.
Can't sit still, disorganized, can't focus, lazy, stupid.
You can't make it. You never listen, you don't clean your room.
It's a super skill set.
If this is something you want to do, you really have to give 100% to it.
It just requires a compassion and a willingness to learn.
It's constant work, but it really brings the station together.
Because you're always learning, you're always taking tests, learning new things and amplifying and applying, being able to put it out when I'm on scene or something.
The requirements have become more stringent, and that's a good thing. It's leveled up with what you would do if you were on a paid fire department.
When it comes to learning new skills, everybody's helping each other obtain those new skills.
Not everybody has to do all of it. Some fire districts allow you to do just one piece of it.
I'm a tender operator, and I'm able to do what I can do without undue stress.
There's always going to be 911. There's always going to be an emergency. You have to have that type of personality where you really do enjoy helping people.
If I'm not willing to be that person, then how can I expect somebody else to be that person?
The 12 Sports Team presents your Southern Tier Kickoff.
Welcome back to Southern Tier Kickoff. Let's take a look at Cornell versus UPenn. Yes, if you're heading up to Ithaca today to see Cornell take on UPenn for their 130th Trustees Cup, yeah, it's going to be a really, really nice day. A little bit cool, feeling more like November than what we've seen the last couple days, but 44 at kickoff, 47 by halftime, 45 around the fourth quarter. You'll notice, though, those clouds are going to start increasing just a touch here as we head on into the fourth quarter. But if you're heading out, sunglasses wouldn't be a bad idea. Also, make sure you got that jacket because it is going to be quite chilly, even with that sunshine, especially with the winds coming out of the north here throughout the day today. Back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thank you, Connor Thompson, for fighting through whatever it is that is destroying your throat. He had a great show last night at 11, and thank you for once again coming on and helping us out. And we're going to go right now to where Connor was talking about. We're going to head up to the Finger Lakes as Keith Savage is on the scene in Cornell. Keith, what's going on up there?
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Cornell, they have a massive Ivy League showdown with Penn. While Penn, they have dominated this matchup in Ithaca. Since 1990, Cornell, only time they've won was in 2006. But nobody wants to win this more than the head coach, Dan Swanstrom. He used to be a part of this Penn squad for 5 years, 2 different stints as the QB coach and offensive coordinator. He's led by his quarterback, Jameson Wong. The senior has been on fire this season, over 250 passing yards per game to go along with a 17-2 touchdown to interception ratio. A true guy who can do everything with 45 rushing yards a game with 5 scores. Top 5 all-time in Cornell history in passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns. We had a chance to talk to head coach James Foster before the game about what makes this Penn Quakers team so talented.
They've had a couple tough losses, but they've played tough competition. You know, one of those losses is Delaware. You know, lost a close Columbia game, lost a close Dartmouth game, beat the brakes off of Brown, who we lost to. So I don't think the focus is going to be an issue. They might be the most talented team skill-wise in the league as far as speed, depth, athleticism. So there's plenty for us to focus on.
If Cornell, they can get a win today, they'd be 3-2 in Ivy League for the first time since 2017. The kickoff here is set for 1 p.m. That's all I have for you. Now back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thank you once again, Keith Savage. And let's go to what you guys have been waiting for, our picks this week in the Southern Tier Kickoff. All right, well, we're going to get right into it. We'll start with Georgia and Ole Miss. This is a big game. This is going to be a matchup of ranked teams. Number 16, Ole Miss. Georgia, top in the SEC right now. I like Georgia in this one. I think that there's a lot of offense in Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin has always been on the doorstep of trying to get to that next level, that CFP. And certainly now that you have 12 teams making it, you have an opportunity for Ole Miss to get there, but I don't think it's going to be this one. I think that Georgia goes ahead and holds serve and takes care of business.
Yeah, I'm going to follow you on that one. Georgia, they're just a stronger team when it comes to these. Ole Miss hasn't been good in SEC play this year. Hunter Parrish is out. Trey Harris is banged up. Georgia's getting Tate Rutledge back, which is a huge add to their offensive line. They've won 52 straight against every team that's not named Alabama. So give me Georgia.
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia real quick. It's 2.5. I think Georgia gets done over Ole Miss.
All right, we will head to the Big Ten, Michigan and Indiana. Indiana, number 8 in the country, going up against Michigan. Michigan, a 14.5-point dog, which, again, if you told me at the beginning of the year that you'd have a number 8 ranked team in this matchup, I didn't think it would be Indiana. Look, Indiana's real good, and Indiana's in the CFP, but they haven't played anybody. We've talked about this with Penn State as well. Do we believe in their schedule? Do we believe in the people that they have played? I really don't. I think this is where it kind of comes to an end. I think that Indiana will win. I think it'll be close. They lose against Ohio State. They lose in the Big Ten championship game. They don't make the CFP. But I got Michigan here to cover.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I mean, Michigan is just an awful team compared to what they were last year. You get the national championship last year. You go from that to now this team is sitting 128th in passing in the nation. There's only like 136 teams in all of FBS, and they're one of the worst passing the ball. Indiana, on the other hand, second best scoring offense in the entire nation. Beat the Spartans by 47. Michigan played the Spartans pretty close. So Indiana's too dominant on both sides of the ball. I'm taking the Hoosiers.
I'm going to take Indiana as well. Number 8 in the country. You don't get there by doing that. I think I underestimate Indiana a lot of the times and overestimate Michigan. I don't want to make that mistake today. I know it's a 14.5 spread, but I'm going to take Indiana.
All right, let's go to one of the big games of the day. We got 2 ranked teams, Bama, LSU, a night game in Death Valley. I mean, this was, every year when you see this on the schedule, it's one of those games that used to be a college football playoff eliminator, and it's going to be again this year as both of these teams come in with 1 loss. I don't think another loss will allow either of these teams to get into the college football playoffs. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. College night time, Death Valley, LSU, you don't go in there, you don't win. I'm going to take Bama.
I'm going with Bama on you with that one. I mean, LSU just hasn't been a strong enough team. They're horrible against running quarterbacks. And Jalen Milroe, arguably the best running quarterback in the entire nation. They couldn't stop Marcel Reed in the second quarter against A&M. 64 yards, 3 touchdowns in that second half. Death Valley is a hard place to play at night, but Bama's been too good. And you put this in a situation where a 9-3 team isn't making the playoffs. Bama.
All right, and who do you like real quick, Mike?
I'm taking LSU in this one.
All right, and we had one more game that you can go ahead and find on our website. We picked Texas Tech and Colorado. And please, when you pick these games and bet on these games, gamble responsibly. And go ahead, if you have any issues, call 1-888-HOPE-NY. We'll be right back after the break.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you are a Pennsylvania resident, or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY if you are a resident of New York. Please gamble responsibly.
Our high school athlete of the week is back. We celebrate the best in dedication, sportsmanship, and talent. Catch 12 Sports' Athlete of the Week Wednesday on WBNG.
If you love cleanliness as much as your cat, you have to try Pretty Litter. Our crystal litter absorbs odor and moisture, which keeps your home fresh and your cat happy. I love that it's low dust and it traps smells. But that's not why I founded Pretty Litter. I made this litter with a built-in health monitor to let you know if your cat is experiencing a potential health issue. And it delivers to your home on your schedule, so you could spend more time saving your water glasses. Visit prettylitter.com.
I need you to get your head in the game. Enough of running around all this madness.
Get in there and do what you do best.
I got this.
I need you to get your head in the game. Enough of running around all this madness.
Get in there and do what you do best.
It's a slam dunk. How much longer we gotta hold this guy?
Tune in to 12 Sports for the Bearcats Coaches Show, hosted by myself, Zach Grady, exclusively here on WBNG.
You stink, Grady!
Fall in the Southern Tier. It's a beautiful time of year. But when the seasons change, being the most accurate with your first alert matters. Cold and rainy one day, sunny and warm the next. That means you need to be prepared. Plan your day with 12 News' first alert weather team, notifying you to severe and changing weather in the area you're headed. When the seasons change, accuracy matters. The 12 News weather team, the Southern Tier is most accurate.
Washington Media Scholars Foundation, proudly celebrating over 15 years of empowering college students through scholarships, career opportunities, and industry connections. Compete for over $150,000 in scholarships and an all-expense-paid networking trip to Washington, D.C. Connect with top media companies, enhance your media skills, and advance your career. Visit mediascholars.org to learn more.
We interrupt with breaking news.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Take a look. The road is washed out.
The all-new Local News Live streaming app. Search LNL on your TV, on your phone.
Step out of the way so you guys can get a better view.
Local News Live. Always streaming. Always free.
I'm Colin Thompson. Watch me weekends here on 12 News.
The 12 Sports Team presents your Southern Tier Kickoff.
All right, we are back from the 2-minute timeout, and the clock is running down. So real quick, we are going to talk about the CFP brackets and their first release on Tuesday night. Michael, when you saw the brackets, what was the first thing that stood out to you?
For me, it was where Georgia was placed. Because, I mean, you think they're the toughest team, they're the strongest team, but seeing where they were placed for me was a little bit tough, along with Oregon. I mean, I'll open that discussion, but...
1 and 2, you want to see them flipped? You think Georgia?
I think, yeah, for me, yes.
All right.
I mean, Bama sitting at 11 is probably the most unpredictable thing that we could have seen all college football season, considering they've missed the playoff once since 2014, and that's when it was 4 teams, and now they're sitting at 11. That's what nobody expected to see at all whatsoever.
Well, I mean, as you talk about that and you look at some of the teams that are in that bracket as we keep bringing it back up there for you, Bama's probably not going to be there for very long. I mean, they play LSU tonight, you know, so either Bama will be out completely or likely move up. I mean, same thing. You see Indiana, I had mentioned, I don't think Indiana will be there at the finish. I don't see them beating Ohio State next week, and I don't, even with 1 loss, see them moving on and winning in the championship game. So a 2-loss Indiana isn't going to be there. So real quick, last minute, who on this bracket that you see there, who's not on there that you think will be when it's all said and done?
That's a good question. I mean, I can see BYU falling out of it and Iowa State taking the Big 12 and then popping into that by winning the Big 12 championship. I mean, BYU's been solid all year long, but it was just that one mishap for the Cyclones last week that really set them back.
For me, it's not someone that's going in, it's someone that's going to rise, and I think rather quickly is going to be Miami. I think the Miami Hurricanes climb quickly into that top 5 realm.
All right. I mean, listen, you had mentioned Big 12. I think Colorado, I think Dion, I think Coach Prime ends up being there. And we will be here all the way through the Army-Navy game. So thank you once again for joining us this morning.